Okay, Jeff, can you hear me now? People in the audience. Oh, I think actually I was an idiot. Yeah, you I'm I just gave a baller ass intro and you and a few others basically said you cannot hear me. So now you can hear me. Thumbs up, Jeff, if you can hear me. There you go. All right. So basically, what I was saying is, man, my intro was sick, dude. I was shouting out Swap Royale quite a bit in that one. Basically, long story short, this episode is brought to you by Swap Royale for the month of May. They have been the lead sponsor for our show, and I'm just really proud of those guys. They have absolutely crushed it in terms of like getting the metrics. And in 6 months, they are going to be the next main app with over 10,000 visitors. So if you haven't done so already, please check out Swap Royale. Download from the iOS store. We'll have him on. We have the CEO from Rainbow Wallet, Alex, on. It'll be interesting to have his conversation, his thoughts. Why is Rainbow? Why should anyone care? The wallet game is a very difficult space to attract users. They're obviously not the only app or wallets. Look at Base App, and they've failed tremendously. So we'll have him on. Looking forward to that. And before I bring up Jeff, I was gonna say one thing is this weekend. It's funny, man. Like, I'm one of those guys that just gives my opinions, and some of these opinions people don't like, and that's fine. We're allowed to have opinions, but it's so funny, man. When I make an opinion, I know I trigger some people when they just say garbage take or they just like spew some like hate, and I'm just like, damn, bro. Like, all right, cool. You can have a different opinion, but let's talk civil. Some people are just really, really, really defensive, and it's kind of interesting to see how people get defensive. So one of the things that I did say that triggered some people was that I was just like, any of these new launches launching are not going to overtake Banker's market cap. If you're a Banker ecosystem project, you're not going to overtake Banker market cap. At least not for the foreseeable 2 to 3 years. That's my opinion. Bag holders did not like that from other projects. No, man, blah, blah, blah. The fundamentals of Banker are different than these. I'm like, bro, all right, just listen to yourself. And again, maybe in 2, 3 years, there'll be projects that outdo Banker. I agree. But you have to understand in this game, you're not going to get a project that a random person, a trencher, got in at 100K market cap and just expect it to go past 100 million and like hold there. Like, it's impossible. Impossible. You're going to have so many people ready to dump on your heads. It's just as simple. Every project needs to have like an 80 to 90% drawdown, maybe multiple of them, for it to get rid of the tourists. It is absolutely insane to think a Banker launch project is going to overtake Banker in the short term. Some people were saying, oh, what about Kita? What about other ones? They're not a Banker. They're not tied to the ecosystem. They're not, trenchers aren't just waiting there. Someone was saying, oh, what about Venice? Completely different scenario. Venice was a VC funded. I think they opened up at like 40 million market cap. It was just a different game. And I think if you independent launches outside of the Banker ecosystem, like, that's a different story. So that was a very controversial take, I thought. And or I didn't think it would be controversial, but some people did. So very interesting. I digress. If you do have your bags, I mean, hopefully you're in some bags that are going to be around. Just be willing to take the 90% drawdown. You have to. All these projects need it. And I think it's actually very healthy. So without further ado, though, we're going to bring up the legend. Big Jeff, what is up, bro?
How we do the controversy. That's what gets the engagement. That's what gets the engagement up. That the haters are gonna hate, man. That's all. That's all.
Bro,
That's
and
life.
listen, and there's too many people who play it safe in crypto media. So many people are just so boring, bro. They just have like basic takes. They have no opinions. They just want to play it safe. Nah, fuck that. You have to have an opinion, in my opinion, as long as you're respectful.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we can agree is that Retta is the future. I know we were talking about a little bit, man. My dad hooks me up with some because he gets it wholesale. So I'm like, dude, when's the next shipment coming in? I need to pump this up.
What week are you in?
Oh, geez, I'm probably about 3 months in. I'm like 2 milligrams twice a week, so 4 milligrams.
Oh, you do it twice a week?
Yeah, I do like 2 and 2, like Monday, Thursday.
Okay, so I want to talk on this. That's actually good. First, I want to talk. So this episode, obviously, guys, brought to you by Swap Royale. First of all, I just want to say it was awesome to have you as the lead sponsor for the month of May. What has been your experience so far, kind of like pushing in the base media? Because I was telling you backstage, I think right now the smart move, if I were you, is less media, is now user growth. But obviously, in order to get the user growth, you need to put yourself out there. People need to know who you are, to trust you a little bit more, to onboard it, How's your experience been so far with, just putting yourself out there, and maybe not just on my show, but just and base general shows together?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The public speaking, talking is a skill, and it's about the practice makes perfect. Because that first podcast and the first stream we did, that's my first time doing a live stream or something, and gosh, a few years. So I was shaking the rust off there. So it's nice to see the progression of the app and swap Royale with the progression of the public speaking. But it was fun. It was great to be able to shake the rust off and get out there. It's always great to be able to engage with people and just talk. So much in this industry, it's just typing away at the computer, not really talking screen to screen, face to face, right? So it's great to be able to kind of step outside that typical comfort zone, that typical barrier in our industry, and just be able to speak on things versus a wall of text.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important to, especially in consumer apps or just in general, like you have to be willing to play the long game, right? Like if even in a crypto project, if you just have instant hype, you're gonna die down. Slow, steady growth is the most important, and then compounds. And I think in this industry, especially consumer apps, it's a game you're playing, a long game. You first have to, you're not going to get, I don't think if anyone's building an app, unless if it's just like, I just don't see anyone getting 10,000 users in one day, like right from the start. I just don't feel that's ever really happening. So it's kind of a progression. The way I look at it is you need to first get people to know what you are, build trust. It's a trust layer, which is what you go in media, you start getting users. They start seeing that you're the real deal. You're not going to leave. Okay, so I can like stay here. Now more people are talking. It kind of gives you validity, validation. Others are observing. Then, in my opinion, the next thing would be growth acceleration, which is the focus. But in order to get the growth acceleration, people need to feel trust that this project's trustworthy. So other communities need to see, oh, Jeff and team are really building. They're making progress. They're here through the ups and downs. Oh, they were on Bill's show for like a month. Okay, these guys, my reputation's cool. And then that shit accelerates. And then it's just all about growth. And then it hits escape velocity. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think a lot of it, especially early days, building up the initial user base, again, still working out the bugs as they come up, just like with any new startup. Having that initial visibility, whether it's seeing the logo, seeing a clip, it's great to plant the seed. Because then next thing you know, when somebody sees it again in a month, 2 months, whatever it is, they already have a little bit of background or a little bit, oh, this is familiar, they're still around. So I think that's the biggest thing at first is essentially establishing that foundation and just a little bit of recognition, even if it was subconsciously like, oh, that looks familiar. I may have seen that on the timeline or on Bill's show, whatever it might be. So I do think that's super important to establish that ground.
Yeah. And so we also did a podcast Friday. Talk to me about your experience. For those that don't know, this is one of the advantages of coming on my show as a lead sponsor is we do it professional. I like those podcasts. It's just, to me, it's a different vibe. It gets really in depth. That will be released probably Sunday, so I'm timing it on a good night. What was your experience like with that podcast?
No, that's a lot of fun. The sit down sort of podcast. Bill was over there in the nice studio. I was in the office. So it was fun though to be able to have a more sit down, little slower pace, right? Able to kind of talk more personally. So that was a great experience, and it's always fun to have that stuff to go a little deeper.
Yeah. Have you done a podcast before? Like a real one like that?
Oh gosh, I mean it's been years of anything. Maybe DeFi, 2021, DeFi summer, whatever. Way back when
Yeah.
it's something, but yeah, long time.
I was actually really surprised for a couple of things. I didn't realize how young you were. You're like a young Chad, bro. You were literally just graduated college. You had really interesting story, like your backstory with baseball, and like you're trying to go down that path, and injuries happen, and then you kind of like got into crypto. Like I really feel like the future is so bright for you, man. You're young, like you have the whole life ahead of you. Like I hope you don't take that for granted. Do you?
No, of course not. And it is, I'm definitely in a very fortunate spot. Learned a lot of things in my, earlier 20s, 19, 20. There's a lot of things I learned that said, hey, at least we learned this now instead of learning this, when I'm 30. So, it's very, very fortunate and blessed to be where I'm at.
Absolutely. Okay, so I do want to talk Reddit, but I do want to see. Okay, so now you're shifting the attention to growth. User acquisition is very important. What's your strategy? What do you got? How are you guys looking at growing Swap Royale in the coming months?
Yeah, so May, June, July, these next 2.5 months, is really a discovery period, seeing what channels work best, whether this is UGC, whether this is clipping, whether this is Reddit, doing the marketing campaign, whatever it is. So May to July is really that discovery phase. Heavy contest subsidies. One thing DraftKings showed was $1 spent in contest overlay is essentially $3 spent elsewhere. So we're definitely really pushing at that part of giving value back to the initial base of users. Another thing that we're really going to be pushing on pretty heavy and putting a good bit of spend towards these next 2 months is exclusive contests with trading communities. And we're in talks with some groups now currently, which I think will be super fun. These communities will essentially get an exclusive contest for whoever in that community is interested, and it'll be 1,000, 2,000, whatever the prize pool is, where only it's a free roll, essentially exclusive free roll for these community members. So I'm super excited to start getting those out, because again, a big thing about this app, about Swap Royale, that we want to have is for it to be that competitive, engaging, entertaining social app that's low downside and potentially nice, like multiples on the upside, especially as we scale. So I'm super excited to have it pump out, have it more visibility, and have these specific communities try it out and see how competitive they get with one another.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a win-win for a community to come in without any for free, basically, to compete against others with really no downside. I mean, there's really nothing stopping them from like entering and having fun. It costs them nothing. And for you guys, it makes a lot of sense because you have more users now on the platform. So it's kind of like the funnel where it's like, all right, you get them in. And if you produce such a good experience that they don't want to leave, and they'll be like, you know what, this was fun. Let's just do it. Is that something like how it sounds simple an idea, but like I don't think it's a simple idea that comes to most people. How did you derive this plan? Because I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend who did a pretty large consumer crypto app, and he basically said, "Hey, man, we did something similar here in our space, in the meme coin space. You guys should just focus on this in this trading space." He said, "You guys should reach out to 10,000, 1,000, whatever it is, communities, and propose this format of, hey, we'll come in." Your community will allocate, let's say, $2,500 to an exclusive contest. If a community has 1,000 people and 250 people join, that's essentially $10 per sign up, which is not bad at all. And then even if we retain 20-25%, let's say, that's a good starting period. And again, these are high quality users that are signing up. So yeah, it's just another channel, another marketing channel that we'll see, distribution channel that we'll see how it does. But I think it's very promising. And when I've talked to other people to pick their brains, they definitely said this seems like the angle you should be focusing the majority of the time on at this point.
Now, I noticed that, the assets that you can trade are limited, right? There's like BTC, ETH. I know you change it certain days, but like, it's just kind of limited. When do you guys have plans to expand? Like, how difficult is it to add different things to trade on the platform?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We're using Pith as our Oracle provider, and they have a great range of different assets there, whether it's metals, forex, crypto, equities. So there's a huge variety there that we can add. Right now in this beta, ramping up the launch area, we really want to kind of just keep with these large, big names everybody knows. Hear feedback, iterate fast on the product. And then when we're in a spot where we're like, hey, we've gotten all this feedback, we can see, hey, people want this asset, people want this feature, and then really just start pushing towards different contest types. Because I know I would love to just do metals versus oil, or just more sort of customized contests. Because right now, week to week, we've been just running the same sort of asset slate essentially. So it'd be nice to mix it up week to week, and we're just we're going to sit down soon and hash out, June's contest, and we're definitely going to mix it up in there.
I love it. I love it. So now let's talk Retta.
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm down to talk Reddit, down weight. That's what we're here for.
Hey, we humanize founders live on late night and base. And once again, this episode is brought to you by Swap Royale. If you haven't done so already, download the iOS app today. Okay. What has been your overall? You said 3 months. What has been when? Okay. Number one, what was your initial starting dose?
Yeah, I was on one because I was doing semaglutide for a while, then I did the trizepatide for a while, and then you got the holy grail, you got the Retta. So
Okay.
I've been on about 3 months, and I started about 1 milligram once a week, and then worked it up to 4 milligrams for the week, 2 and 2. And I feel
How long did it take you to get to 2 and 2?
gosh, I would say probably like 2 3 weeks. I went up pretty fast just because I was already, in between these other
Yeah.
GLP ones. So I was already, on a higher dose for those. So I said, hey, we got to go hard here. We're just gonna pump it up. But no, I've been feeling great. I mean, I think it's amazing. I know a ton of because my dad is super into it. He's actually getting like these wholesale and looking into doing this whole peptide thing and distribution himself. And I mean, he's gotten at least a few dozen people on, and it's crazy, down 30, 40 pounds in 3 months, whatever it is. So it's great to see. I mean, again, you spend all your health trying to get wealth, and then you spend all your wealth trying to get health back. So I think these peptides are the future.
What? Okay, so you're on 1 milligram for the first couple weeks, then you switch to 2 milligrams twice a week. Okay, my question is, why did you switch? Were you feeling like the weight loss was stalled, or you just kind of wanted to push the limits?
My dad was bullying me. He was like, "You're not losing weight fast enough, Jeff." He said, "We're pumping you more." So that was pretty much the one where he said, "Dude, you got your wedding coming up. We gotta drop this fast." So
Okay, so I'm fascinated by this, and I want to keep talking. And shout out to Cap10 on Chain. What up? Enjoying the daily interviews. Thank you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. We are live Monday through Thursday, noon PST. Sometimes 11 a.m. PST. We have to figure that out, but we're here. We cooking. Okay, so first month in, how much weight did you lose?
first month, I went from 240 down to 230.
10 pounds. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now talk to and you've stuck with 2 milligrams each day or each twice a week since month one, right?
Yeah. The end of month one is when I bumped it up.
Okay.
I went from 1 to 2 and then just 2 to 4.
Okay. So now before we get into month two, and again, this is fascinating to me because I'm on the journey and I'll tell you mine. Did you notice what was how were you feeling when you bumped from 1 milligram to 4 milligrams?
Um, it wasn't as bad. I mean, you definitely feel the quenching the hunger. But gosh, I still feel like I could eat through it. I mean, but I guess that's the thing. It just stops you enough. Where I mean, at first, when I first went to the 4, I didn't have any appetite at all. But now it's kind of coming back. But in terms of pain, I mean, I don't think there's no pain or no like cramping feeling. Overall, I felt really good. Energy was there, and they say it's so they show all this data about how it's so beneficial just for weight loss, but also just general health. Because I mean, these are essentially hormone balancers, and for the most part, everybody can use a little hormone balancing. So just constantly keeping up with the blood work as well, seeing where no, I see Cap there talking about for the fasting. Yeah, I used to fast a ton. I used to do Monday, Tuesday, just water fast, and yeah, no, I went off a little tangent there. I saw the comment, and I big proponent of fasting, but yeah, no,
Okay.
I felt pretty good. I didn't feel any major swings or anything.
Okay, so no side effects, nothing. So you're on 4. Okay, so now tell me what month 2 brought you. How much did you lose? And or did you see any stalling? What was month 2 like?
Yeah, it definitely stalled a little bit. I was traveling, so even with the not being as hungry, I was still probably eating through it a little more than I should have. So I was down another 10 in month 2. So yeah, and then month 2 to 3, I kind of I stayed at 4, and then I've been flat for month 2 to 3.
Okay, you've lost so between the first month and the second month you lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. and still no side effects. So with month 3, did you you said you're stalling around 4. Do you have plans to increase your dosage?
Gosh, whenever I always see, it's always like a step up. At first, I was like, "Whoa, four so much." Then my buddy was taking four, and then a few weeks ago he's like, "Dude, this guy's taking 12 a week, and he's like some professional lifter or something." Then just the other day, I saw somebody's up to 16. So
Well,
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I need to talk to the all-knowing Claude and make sure I'll be all good and I won't blow up from too much Retta. But no, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something I'm against. Um, so yeah, no, I'll pump it all the way. I'll pump it all the way up to the six pack here, Bill.
whoa, yeah, no, I'm fascinated. Real quick, Cap is actually asking. He's
Yeah.
an advocate for fasting, fasted 12
Mm-hmm.
days. Curious to know, Captain, if you're there, how long does each of your fast last? Because I know people do like 18 hours a day. I know there's people who do weeks or a week long, 3 days. Curious to know your thoughts. He did have a question though. Did you prefer peptides to fast?
Oh gosh, there's a while. I mean, I lost my most weight. This is probably 3 4 years ago. I was about like 245. I went down to 195 in 4 months, and that was just Monday, Tuesday. Like I would do 48-hour fast a week, not eat Monday, Tuesday, and then essentially just do lunch and dinner. And I went down quick, like good though. Like I was walking every day, doing the calisthenics, all that sort of stuff. So there, I do love fasting, and I try and do a 5 day fast every quarter, every 3 months.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he says it gets easier after those 2 3 days. Yeah, because once your body depletes the glucose there, you get into the ketones, and then the body prefers to
Yeah.
work off the ketones. So I mean, same reason why a ketogenic diet is so great is because you're working off the ketones, you're working off that stored fat. So I'm a huge proponent of fasting. It's something I got to get back into. I've been trying to do my Monday, Tuesdays, and tag that with the Retta. But oh gosh, I still just I still just yeah, I'm doing better. I mean, it's not like I'm eating junk. I'm cooking up some eggs and some steak. But yeah, I mean, I love it.
How long do you see yourself doing Reddit? Is this something that you think you're going to be doing the rest of your life with the break? Are you just going to cut turkey? What's your like long term game plan?
Um, I do see a lot of people saying you go back, like the ideal. And I know when I was talking to my dad about, progressing to get off, just staying at like maybe half a milligram a week as like a maintenance level, because there's so much benefits to it just in a maintenance mode, even when you're not trying to lose weight. Stuff with helping with liver function. They show how liver fat just melts away and how like the helps with the kidneys, all this sort of stuff. I just see it being a overall hormone balancer. So it's definitely something I'm not opposed to staying on for the rest of my life. But I'm sure in 3 years we'll have something else pop up, or probably even sooner. That's the next big thing. So
Would you
we'll
say?
see.
Would you say? And we have to wrap it up very soon. But
Yeah,
would you say Retta has been the best GLP you've taken?
yeah. I would say Red is the best by far.
Yeah. Yeah, I've started Reddit about 3 weeks ago. I'm actually due for my fourth of this month. I've been 3 weeks in, and it's just fantastic. I'm only on two. I've done 2 milligrams. I guess some people were like, "Oh, that's too much to start." I was like, I don't think so. It's been great. Probably down about 11 pounds in
Yes,
3 weeks,
sir.
which is pretty insane.
Yeah, that's
And then
great.
I have this coming week, and it's just for me, it's like the appetite suppression is like massive.
Yeah,
Like I just have
good.
I'm at a point where it's like, dude, I don't eat enough. Like I don't want to look like a little Somalian kid. Like I need to figure out how do I get my protein goals. Good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's obviously it helps eliminate cravings and bad temptations. So I'm a fan.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Awesome.
Jeff. Well,
I
listen,
appreciate it,
Jeff,
Bill.
it's been awesome having you as the lead sponsor for the month of May. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Even though next month it won't be the case, we are always going to be here rooting for Swap Royale. So anything that I can do, let me know, and look forward to releasing the podcast in the coming days.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff, everybody. Jeff from Swap Royale. Awesome guy. Check it out if you haven't done so already. Please give the app a download. It's fun and you can just top left hand corner if you haven't done so already. Check it out. Swap Royale Play today in the iOS store. Very cool. All right. Shout out to the 2,800 plus tuning in live late night on base. We do this Monday through Thursday around this time, noon PST. Now, without further ado, our next guest of the day. I'm looking forward to this one because I've always contemplated using Rainbow, but I never have. So why not just bring the CEO and he can help tell us why we should. Alex, my friend, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for tuning in. So we have a good amount of people tuning in today, and one of the things that we do on this show is we're going to cut up our segment and put it into a podcast on distribution on Spotify, and because I think more people need to know outside of crypto what's going on. For those that don't know, talk to us about Rainbow Wallet. I think a lot of people understand it's a wallet, but you guys do so much more. So why don't you give us the rundown? What exactly is Rainbow Wallet?
Yeah, so Rainbow, company was founded in 2019, has historically been known as one of the most user-friendly wallets in crypto, has been open source since day one. Oftentimes, those who are in crypto will recommend it to their friends who are getting into crypto for the first time. And I think over time, the company has shifted. We're very, very focused on mobile, and we really believe the opportunity ahead of us is to build the on-chain version of Robinhood.
The on-chain lofty goals. So you guys have been in there for a while. So what would you say is, I guess, because the wallet space is it's a tough market. It's not easy. There's a lot of people trying to get the same users. You have Phantom, even the base app rebranded pretty much from social to strictly wallet based. You have all sorts of things. What would you say is Rainbow's differentiating factor? Why would someone want to use Rainbow versus the others?
Sure. Let me give you a somewhat long-winded answer, and hopefully sort of it'll make sense in the end. So if you think about maybe the traditional financial markets, they're like very, very short-term thinking. Typically, it's like quarter to quarter. Crypto markets are like even more like short-term focused. And I think sort of if you're able to think longer term, it's a huge advantage, and that sort of permeates everything that we do. So if you look at like the data for, I know wallets aren't users, but sort of depending where you look, the retention for a wallet annually is like 2 to 5%. If you look at the best-in-class financial services companies, it's much, much higher. So like an RIA on Schwab is at like 97% sort of annual retention, so like 30-plus year implied LTV. Interactive brokers, something similar. If you look at Robinhood's data themselves and sort of like back into it, it's like 93% plus retention, so like 15-ish plus years. And so if we're thinking, all right, what do I need to do to serve Bill for the next 15, 30 years? I think how you approach products and everything that you do will dramatically change. So from UX perspective, we build sort of very, very good experiences. So we have Perp Sniper Liquid, we have prediction markets on Polymarket. There's very good pro tools to go and to trade those. But for most people who picked up the Wall Street Journal, they read about Hyperliquid, they read about Polymarket, and it's still very, very painful for them or inaccessible for them to go and to trade these things today. We build very, very simple experiences to trade them. Things that plague everyday users, things like gas, annoying nuance. We sponsor that and trying to remove a lot of the friction for everyday users. And I'd say it's sort of less about feature for feature, but more of all right, if you are thinking that your LTV looks closer to a brokerage, what are the kinds of experiences that you need to build with the additional wrench thrown in of crypto to where some of those businesses have much higher lock-in, much tougher switching costs if you want to get off. For better or for worse with crypto, every single time someone opens up your app, they have a chance to export their private key, export their seed phrase, and they can go and use something else. There really is no lock-in. So the bar of what you build, what you ship every single time is very, very high. And I would say it also permeates into other parts of our business. So I can talk about the token. I can talk about our partnership with Liquid you had on as well. But I think this long-term thinking and what does the UX need to be if you were thinking much longer term really permeates everything that we do.
Yeah, I think the UX experience has to be, and I think the Robinhood analogy is very, very good because you have to, in my opinion, I think a lot of people would agree with it. You need to onboard users and make it as simple as possible and create an experience where they don't feel like they have to jump through hoops. It's easy to navigate because the the more seamless and easy experience you make it, the more they're likely to stay. Why is Robinhood so integrated in Western civilization? Because the app is so simple to use. You get in, there's no confusing. Like I see a lot of builders build some really good stuff, way too technical. Way too technical. If I find it super technical, the average user is not going to. So you want to create something that's accessible, understandable, and take away any pain points like Robinhood does. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I want to get into a bunch of different things. The token sounds interesting. Obviously, Liquid, shout out to them, Proxy and team. Building though, one thing though I'm curious to know is building a wallet in this space with competition. What has been some of the biggest, I guess, hurdles and difficulties that you have faced, whether you as a CEO or, I don't know exactly how long you've been in the company, that you have particularly seen that has been a lot harder to navigate than you've initially thought?
Yeah. So in terms of timing, I joined a little bit more than 18 months ago as CEO. In terms of the challenges, I think there's a lot of the friction of crypto. And if you look at sort of everyone's sort of fighting for the exact same pockets of users today. But if you benchmark even the largest crypto apps with Robinhood has 27 million plus funded accounts. Nubank, which is sort of the big neobank in Brazil, has 100 million plus sort of active accounts. Revolut has 50 million plus. And so I think maybe the biggest challenge is how do you go from the sort of still very niche crypto industry to serving these much broader audiences, since I like to think that markets are relatively efficient. And if we really believe that every sector of finance is moving on chain and that crypto rails are just much more effective and efficient, then sort of users' capital should flow to the more effective solution, which is sort of all of these companies that are built on crypto rails. But it hasn't quite happened yet because there's still a lot of, I think, friction that exists today within just building product in crypto.
Yeah. And then talk to me, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now let's circle back and talk to me about the idea of the token, the TGE from the Rainbow Wallet. Talk to us about the thinking behind that. Talk to us about how the community's responded. Do you think the token drop has enabled you to attract more users? Do you think it's been a net positive? Talk to us about the whole aspect with the token attached to the wallet.
Yeah, so it's certainly been a net positive. I would say I am not the most crypto native person. I'm not one of the people who's like been in the industry for like 10 years and participated in sort of the ETH ICO. There's a lot of, I think, weird things about crypto that were a little bit weird to me. I think we've wed with the token. So I think in almost every industry except for crypto, management teams only return capital to their holders when they've run out of ideas to reinvest in the business, whether it's organically or inorganically in buying companies. Only then do they start to shift to dividends or buybacks. But within crypto, you sort of have this weird dual structure of like equity plus token. You have some bad examples of the past to where token holders want this sort of idea of proof of value accrual. Typically, it's been done via buybacks. I think from my perspective, I think it's a terrible use of capital from a capital allocation perspective, in that there should be many places in your business that you are much more excited to invest in or a much better use of capital than returning it to your holders. And so I think part of how we solved that was we made the foundation the largest shareholder in the business. Foundation owns 20% of Rainbow via a class of equity called Class F, which we worked with Fenwick to design, specifically designed to be held by a foundation. And then I think from there, we have worked to more deeply integrate the token into the product to where you can stake a small amount of the token, you can get 100% of your fees auto compounded back up to 100% into more staked Rainbow.
When did you guys figure out that was the direction you want to take? And I agree. I think in crypto, to non-crypto natives, it doesn't really make sense. But in crypto, especially when you have a product, people use the token as a vehicle for obviously growth. And, because traders want to make money, speculators want to, have a piece of the pie. And by nature, that gives attention. So at what point did you guys figure out that the token was where to go? As you said, too, it's probably not an easy process. You got Fenwick involved. So talk to us about the formation stages.
So I think Rainbow's points program started in December of 23, had been running a while before I joined. But I think sort of ultimately, it's a unique thing that sort of we have in market with the live token versus other companies. I think trying to figure out just sort of what is going to work best. And I think a lot of the concepts pull more from TradFi than from traditional tokenomics from existing like crypto companies. So even the case of auto compounding fees is largely driven by this famous investor named Peter Lynch, who wrote books about sort of everyday people and being able to invest and beat professional investors in Wall Street. And the sort of crux of the advice, to paraphrase, was that if you are an everyday person, if you look around at the products and services that you use and you like, you are at least well informed to consider becoming an owner in that business. And so I think for us, if you use Rainbow and you like using the product, you're well informed to want to own the token and to become a holder of the token. And so we make that the default experience of all of your fees get auto compounded into more staked Rainbow if you stake a certain amount.
Interesting. Okay, so now we got that covered. Token holders have access or utility. It's done well, or you've created a real economy over there. Now, so as many know who watch the show, the team Moon Poppy and Proxy were on, and they're from Liquid. And I know you guys have been working with them. So talk to us about that whole Liquid. I guess, would it be considered a partnership, or how is that?
Yeah, so I think we're longtime fans of them, going back to sort of their work in Clanker. They have a very large vision for what they want to do with Liquid. And I think when it gets into their longer term time horizon, longer term thinking, is I think to help them build sort of that to build what they want to get to. It takes a somewhat differentiated experience that's sort of fully integrated. So within Rainbow, you can trade any Liquid token that's come from their protocol. There's no front end fees. We sponsor all of the gas. We truly want to make it the best sort of way to buy and to sell tokens that come from Liquid on your phone. And we have a revenue share with them at the protocol level, irrespective of where the tokens trade. But I think it's a little bit of short-term pain and concessions on each side in order to pursue and build an experience that we believe is hopefully both very good, very differentiated, and hopefully is very compelling for them long term.
Absolutely. I see mutually beneficial relationship. They target the existing user base on Rainbow as well. And then you guys also now then target their audience, which is very base friendly. Are you guys focused? And again, Late Night on Base, for those that don't know, is no longer just a base show. We talk about crypto apps, AI tech on chain across all ecosystems, even outside of crypto. Are you making a push to the base ecosystem a little bit more, or are there other chains that you're working with as well? Because I know you guys do deal with it all, but what's your relationship like on other chains and your go-to-market strategy for Rainbow?
So I think in the case of Base, I think it's so I'm not super crypto native. I've known the founders of Rainbow since they founded the business, and a lot of crypto back when it was just mainnet. It never really clicked for me in terms of like it's $40 to do a transaction. Why isn't anyone going to do this? And then I think with the rise of L2s, and I think specifically Base, that sort of completely changed when transactions became very fast, very cheap. And I think specifically looking around the launch of Base, there's a huge inflection in the metrics of Rainbow around sort of the launch of Base. Base is still the most popular network across our entire user base. It's like 70% plus of transactions volume sort of all occur on Base.
Okay.
In terms of other chains, I think we are always looking to invest and sort of find new markets. And maybe best way to think about it is as a reminder. Similar to masochist, I will pull up Dune dashboards almost every day. I will look at MetaMask versus Rainbow trading volume on mainnet as a reminder of right product, right timing, right market. It has very long-term impact in terms of MetaMask still throws off cash today from their mainnet volume because they were well positioned at the time, and trying to find what are the next markets for us to be very well positioned on that can have a similar type of impact on our business.
What do you think has been the real driving force to capture so much attention on Base? Why do you think Base? Because again, totally L1s back in 2021, no one's paying 20, 40, sometimes $100, $200 a transaction like that. That mode is completely done. But Base is no longer the only chain that offers, the gas free basically existence, but it still has captured most market share on Rainbow. What do you attribute that to, in your opinion?
So I think it is a byproduct of them having a core business, which is the centralized exchange, which is sort of is very profitable, and thus they are able to live slightly outside of the quarter to quarter and invest in new lines of business. I think of all of the large centralized exchanges, I think they have done the most they've invested heavily in their on-chain options. And I think of all of the sexes, is probably the most coupled with using sort of their existing cash cow business to try and drive more volume to their on-chain offering.
Got it. But from a trader's perspective, right? Like the typical degen trader who's using your app, they don't really care about the metrics of Coinbase. They have the name. They just care about what the chain does. So what do you think has attracted those users who literally don't care about Brian Armstrong and the CEO standpoint? They just care about number go up. What has been in your opinion, the thinking of capturing their attention?
Yeah, so I think just by virtue of sort of the capital and the investment they've made, they've been able to attract a number of tokens that have made people a lot of money, a lot of people to go and to build and to launch tokens. And I think sort of by virtue of that wealth effect, that is what has driven more liquidity, more traders, more things to launch on Base that have the potential to make people a lot of money compared to other chains, as well as I think they have much more embraced things like memes and tokens versus maybe chains who have been a little bit too serious or have turned up their nose at things like launchers and memes.
Yeah. Curious to know, you're saying that your experience is typically outside of crypto before coming into Rainbow. What were you doing before Rainbow?
Is doing special sits in distressed private equity.
Interesting. So
the sort of, I guess, I know Mike, he's probably the most well-known in the public face of Rainbow almost a decade ago. He and I met at this enterprise software company in Boston. He was one of the first engineers. I was doing product and finance and all the things that people who wear shirts with collars do. That company was ultimately bought by Vista Equity, large enterprise software private equity shop. And so then I ended up doing distressed special sits like private equity for a couple of family offices. And then sort of one day Mike calls up and said, "Hey, remember those nights I was up late writing code for you, calling in that one favor." And that's how I ended up here.
Wow, quite a jump. What is your overall impressions of crypto when you first really came into the scene? Must have been a complete shock, huh? Culture shock.
So a lot of it didn't, I think, make sense at the time. So a lot of learning on the fly. I think looking forward, it's tough to imagine a better industry with tailwinds, and tailwinds are going to persist for a very, very long time than crypto.
Yeah, that's interesting. Shout out to the quick moment. Shout out to the 3,100 people plus tuning in live late now on Base. We're live with Alex, the CEO from Rainbow Wallet. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I want to give you so imagine you're in a room full of non-Rainbow Wallet users. I know we kind of joked around on Farcaster. Non-Rainbow Wallet users, but we're dying to find a home. Right now, we're just having our capital in random places. Give us your best 1-minute pitch, Alex. Why should we use Rainbow Wallet?
I mean, ultimately, it boils down to the product. It sounds like you've never tried it before. I would encourage you to go and to try the product. I think it's as simple as that. I think we are very focused on, specifically on mobile, trying to build the best product for everyday users. I truly believe that every Robinhood user today is a future Rainbow user. As sort of, I strongly believe that we can build the on-chain version of their business before they themselves can move on-chain themselves.
Yeah, just so you know, I have User Wallet. I was trying to farm a little of the airdrop. Didn't work though, but I've been on it. I definitely was. There are some people on Farcaster too that have been loyal for years, and they got substantial airdrops. And I checked it out. And like I said, I haven't checked it out recently, but it's always fascinating to me to talk to builders who aren't worried about competition. Like I said, a lot of people have their own avenues. But I tried all, Base app. I try Farcaster, FOMO. Do you guys have, for those that don't know, do you have a social trading element as well on Rainbow Wallet?
No. So I think there's been different ideas around social in the past. From Rainbow had the best in class sort of ENS v1 and profiles type feature. We tried to build different things on Farcaster in the past. I would say if you think about the spectrum of social to privacy right now, I think we skew much more and are going to be skewing much more this year towards the privacy end of the sector. than focusing on social.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, whatever you guys think. I think there's room for both. Obviously, social aspect is for someone like me. I like the social aspect, but I totally understand the other side, like the Robin Hoods and the privacy. Like that's very valuable as well. Um, Last questions for you, Alex. And I ask a lot of my guests because I want to know the vision. I want to know the goal. I want to know some milestones. 1 year from now, it is the 20. What is it? Today's 26th. It is May 26th, 2027. What do you imagine Rainbow Wallet achieving by then that you would like to see?
I would say these sort of very obvious answers are sort of you see an increase in users, you see an increase in sort of in revenue. Hopefully, we continue to diversify and chip away at revenue lines that exist in Robinhood today, existing within Rainbow. I'd say maybe the couple of things that I would be most excited about is truly having shown that we can cross the chasm into serving not just crypto users, but everyday users who are moving from fintech products and starting to use Rainbow.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, and I like that. I like the aspirations, like the dreams. And so, Alex, um, just so you know, we're going to make sure that this episode's clipped onto Spotify as well, further distribution. And when this episode's done, within a few hours, we'll have a couple clips made as well. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. All right, Alex, the CEO of Rainbow Wallet. Give it a shot, everybody. I actually will return back into the app and give it a shot as well because I don't want to be left behind. I like trying new things. I like talking to builders behind it. So it's always great to chat with him, and hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. All right, guys. Well, I guess that ends the episode. Today has been Tuesday. Good show after Memorial Day. 3,100 plus tuning in live late night on base. Hope you learned a thing or two with Swap Royale. You also learned from Alex, CEO of Rainbow Wallets. Back at it tomorrow. We're back at it Thursday. We have a new sponsor next month. Super excited about it all, and can't wait to get to it and talk to you more. But until then, tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. Your boy Bill. Peace out.